My name is Lainey Draper. I'm one of the instructional designers here at eSale, and with me is Sandra Childers, and she is our accessibility expert and our webmaster here at eSale. And we're going to cover how to add content to your online course inside Canvas, and we're going to talk about the ways to add that content, the different areas where you can add content, and then Sandra's going to talk more about how to make sure that content is accessible. Get started with ways to add content, and I'm just going to go into my practice course so y'all can see that. I'm going to circle back to this, but this should be the homepage you see when you have your practice course or you get your spring course. What you'll notice is Academic Innovation has put a template inside your course. It's called a blueprint, and so everybody will have the same look and feel on their homepage. You can edit this, and again, we'll come back around and talk about that a little bit because there is a lot of content. You'll notice Latin text in different parts of your course that you want to come in and change and put your own content. So putting content and replacing content in the blueprint that's in your course is one way to add your own content and your own presence in the course. But I'm going to go ahead and click on this modules. The modules area is the place where you share your information, share the bulk of your content to your students. So for those that have experience in eCampus, the modules is the same as the course materials area where you had folders and subfolders and that type of information. So a module is equivalent to a folder inside eCampus. And one thing you'll notice again is this little symbol here that has kind of the stacked pages. That shows you that's part of the blueprint that Academic Innovation has given you. And the check mark means that it's published. So as soon as you allow students into the course, if you have this module published, so you can publish or unpublish the whole module, and that if you unpublish it, that hides everything in that module from the students. But if you publish it, those things that are also published within the module will be shown to the student. One way to figure that out, what's showing to your students, is the student view. And most places inside the course, wherever you are, look at the top and you'll find an icon to the right that's the student view. It's a button with the eyeglasses on it. And I'm going to click on that. And then you notice not everything in that first module had that check mark. And so I'm only seeing the things that had the check mark. This entire module, week 1, did have everything checked, so the students can see everything in that week 1 module. And again, you can tell by the wording here, this is something that you might see in your course that is the part of that blueprint. And that's something for you to either try to duplicate the sequence of that or just unpublish the whole thing or even delete it altogether. That's really up to you. I'm going to go back to the edit mode, and at the very bottom there's a leave student view. You'll see it in this kind of pink colored bar at the bottom. Okay, so now I'm back in my edit view. So one of the first things that I may want to do in this particular case is student experience resources. There's things here that are linked in the home page, and there's like academic resources for students, things that you're going to want to keep in this one. So the student experience resources I would keep, and I would leave it alone as far as what's published and what's not, with the exception of the syllabus, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But for the most part, you can leave this as it is. But one thing you may not like is having that right up at the top. You may want your own getting started, or module 1 kind of right at the top of the screen when the students get into the course. So I can actually kind of move these things around. All throughout Canvas, you'll see these 3 dots to the right of things, and that's where you can open up the menus for different things that you're at. And so this gray line here is the module. And if I get the menu for the module, I click the 3 dots, and then editing it just edits the title, and then it can also edit when it opens. You can put a lock on the module. So that's what you would do if you wanted to edit it. But I want to move it around. So I'm going to move this module. And then on the right, I get this move module menu. And so I have some choices in this pull down menu. It's at the top already. I can put it before or after another module I already have in place, or I can just say, take it all the way to the bottom. And like that's one benefit of going to the menu to move it, is if you need to move it really far down, it's easier to use the menu. So I'm going to move that. The other option though, and it takes me to the bottom, is I can drag these modules. So if I want to drag this up, this is a welcome, I can drag that up. But again, if you have something on the bottom, you're trying to get all the way to the top, that may be slow. I'm just scrolling back up to the top. And again, here's that week 1. I'm not going to use that. So I could delete it, or I could just hide it from my view, and then by clicking on the title and that little arrow, and then unpublish. So this way, it's not getting in the way right now. I can still look at it later if I want to get ideas from it, but the students aren't going to see it because I unchecked that. I have another getting started area. This is something that I created myself. So it has kind of several things inside of it. One thing that I did in this course was I actually went into eCampus. I grabbed a course, I packaged it, and then I imported it into Canvas. And that's one way to add your content, is actually to grab it from eCampus as a package and then import it. And what happens is if you have those folders inside your course materials area, and then you have nested folders, so you have kind of subfolders, each of those things comes in as its own separate module. So this was in my eCampus course, this getting started area. These were 2 items that I had at the top of my course materials area. And then within that area, I had, folders for each topic. And so this came by itself. And then this were things from the template that I saved, but I grabbed it because you see this is from the blueprint here, and I moved it within another module. So I can move these kind of within other modules. So that's another way to kind of organize your material. So you can move modules within the list, but then you can move items and drag them into different modules. One of the things now you can do to add content inside a module, you'll see a plus sign within this gray of the module, and that's how you add content. And you have different options here. You have assignments, and you have quizzes, you have files, pages. Page is just like an item inside eCampus. You have discussions, text headers. Like if you're used to having those nested folders, instead of having you can't put a module within a module, but you can use a text header to organize something. And then you also have these external URL. So if you wanted to, grab a video from YouTube, or, grab a link from your Google Drive area, you could do that through external URL. But those 2 options are actually choices as well under that external tool, and I'll show you that in a minute. One thing too is when I hit discussion, I just want you to notice there's an option here to create something new, but then it'll also show you what's already there inside your course. So this group discussion and course question board, these are from that blueprint from Academic Innovation. So you're going to want to go through and make sure you find those. So like this course question board is something you may consider using for yourself if you wanted to kind of have an open discussion where you answer course questions, kind of, general things that you get through email. If you push it into a discussion, you can reach more people at once instead of having to email everybody individually. So that's something to consider using that. But also, if you don't want to use it, go and find it, unpublish it. The other thing is assignments. There may be a reason for you to push out information at a different time, like within the module, and the assignment tool is a way you can do that. And I'll kind of talk about that here in a minute, but I'm going to just give you an example of adding a file. And that's pretty simple. You can create a new file. So what that does is allows you to grab a file you have on your hard drive and upload it. I can also pick from the course files I already have. Now, one thing I want to do here, when you grab things from your eCampus course, it's going to dump every file that you had in eCampus into your files area with no organization. So one thing you may think about when you add a new file, instead of importing everything, is go ahead and start with organization in mind. So if I wanted to add a new file to a module, instead of coming here to the module, I'm going to cancel out of this and we'll come back to it in a second. I may go first to the files area. So if I click on files, you see this is the mess it's created from eCampus. Everything's just in one folder. You can actually go up at the top and create a new folder. So if I wanted to do spring 2021, so I know I'm going to hit that checkbox. And so that creates that folder for me. And then it shows up here at the bottom on the left-hand side in the course folders area. So that's one thing to think about, is kind of think about your organization within your files area. So you may come here and you do that first, and then now when we go back to the module, you would actually see that structure instead of the mess that I have. So I'm going to hit plus, and you're still going to see the mess because I didn't add anything to that folder. But this is the big course files area. And if I scroll down, I see the bolded is all the folders. And a lot of what's here is going to be from that template. So you may have a lot of scrolling to do, but you can probably, but it's alphabetical. So here's my spring course documents. And there's one thing in it, and that's a syllabus. So I'm going to add that. And I'm in module 1, introduction. And so here's my syllabus. Now, one thing, and Sandra's going to talk about this in more detail. One thing I noticed is I added my file and I see this little red symbol. So what this is telling me is in that file, there's something that's not correct as far as accessibility. So it's done a check on the file, and there's some minor error or a warning. So if I click on that, it'll let me know what's, and this PDF is untagged. And Sandra's going to explain some of that to you in a minute, but it'll pop up and it'll tell you what's wrong. And then it also gives you a chance, if you wanted to upload a new version, you could do that from here too. So I'm going to X out of that on the right. So that's how you add a file to the module. So I hit the plus and I added the file. The other option that I want to go over is a page. So this is very similar to an item, and I need to name it. So I'm going to add that item on the right. So I have this welcome page now. And at this point, I click on it and it's blank because I've just added a blank page. But from here, I can edit. And this takes me to this rich text editor. This is something you'll see in a lot of places in the course. This is what will pop up when we edit the home page. If you have a quiz or an assignment, this is the kind of instruction area. Will give you this rich text area. And from here, you can, add text. One thing that we do when we're designing courses is we actually have a separate like Google Doc or a Word doc, and kind of any page you might have inside Canvas, you can plan ahead and you type it up in Word. You make sure that the spelling is accurate. You edit it as much as you need to, and then you just paste it in here. So that's one helpful tip is instead of, if you have a lot of information you need to convey within the item or page area here, you're adding a page, then type that up first and then just cut and paste. The other thing you can do, so you can type within here or cut and paste wording within the rich text editor, but then you can also add content by linking to a document from that files area. So instead of adding the file as a separate line within the module, you can add it to a page. So say here, I wanted to talk about the readings, and I want to, part of the readings is a handout, but then I want to give more information. I don't want to just throw the handout. I want to tell them, hey, here's the handout, pay special attention to this point, and this point. So that's one way to use a page instead of linking to a file directly in the module. To insert a file, you have a couple different ways to get there from the rich text editor. And the obvious way is there's insert, and then we have a document. So if you wanted to upload it from your computer, you could do that. Course documents is where this files area is here. So if you already have it in your course documents area in the files, that's where that is. Then you also see this choice that says user documents. So this is very similar for those at HUD eCampus. You have your own user files outside of individual courses, and that you can get through the accounts area. So if you, on the global navigation on the left, if you click on account, there'll be a link that says files, and you can get to there and upload documents, create folders, and some organization, just as you can within the course. So that's in the insert. When you see document, you can upload from your computer, upload from the course files, or upload from the user documents area. You'll also see, though, if I highlight this handout, I have a lot of different options on this toolbar. So you can tell that's an image. I can link to an external URL, but then I also see this little page symbol. So that's the same. I can go straight to that and upload a document, or go to my course documents. And that's what I did. And it gives me that menu on the right. And I still have some options there. Like if I click on that and I don't find what I'm looking for and I realize, oh, it's in my user files, you could get to it here too. Once you see or scroll through and find the document you want, you just click on the document. And then you'll see it highlighted that in yellow, so that means the link is there. And then I also have, I'm going to click out of that add menu. And so now I see link options. And then of course, I can come here and fix it. So I didn't highlight the T, so I can add T here, so that'll change the text, but then I'll need to go back in here and delete the extra T. I can update the link if I had put the wrong file, or I decided I want to link to a different external URL. I could kind of update that here. Likely, if you're using course files and linking to course files, you won't ever touch this because this is a link the system creates. The other big thing here is to disable the inline preview or automatically open it. And I personally don't like it automatically opened. I'm going to leave this as it is, though. I'm not going to disable it. So you can see here in just a second what that means. So I'm going to hit done, but that's the choices you get when you click on link options, and it'll show you that. So now I have an extra T. So I'm going to delete that extra T. And then I'm going to hit save. I'm done with this page. If I was ready for it to be viewed by the students, I would hit save and publish. But I can just hit save for now, just in case I want to go back. I want to view it first. Again, this shows me this is the accessibility score is high, so it shows it in green. And this little arrow is that inline preview option. So I'm going to click on this. And that's what preview means. It also gives me the option to download it or to get it in an alternative format, which is basically just kind of a plain text document. And so I'm going to hit preview. And this is what the inline text is. So it actually shows up. This is, the handouts are slides from the lecture. That's what this example is. And so they can actually see it on the page. Now, you can disable it so they can't do it and they have to download it. So when they click on the link, it'll just automatically download. One advantage of making it automatic is one thing that you could do here is actually add a link to a video, but actually embed that video. And like if you have a video inside Mediasite or in YouTube, there's a way to go to those services and copy an embed code. And I'm going to go back to edit and show you that. So if I wanted to have the video first, and I'm going to place it here, and I hit that insert, and you have to hit the insert from the file menu to see this. I have an embed option. And so what that does, I could do the embed code that whatever service you have your video in can be embedded here. So you just copy and paste it there. But you could also, if you see the brackets at the bottom, you could switch to the HTML editor, and that would give you the code for the page. And then I could say I want it right after watch the video. So I would hit enter, and then I can copy and paste the embed code here too. So that's how you could embed the video inside a page. Now another option you have for videos, and I'm going to try to quickly go through this so we can get to Sandra's material, but I hit the add button on the module, and then I have this external tool. We talked about that, or external URL. But if I hit on external tool, I can actually get to these different tools that we have inside Canvas that AI has provided. So YouTube is one of them. But also I want to point out there is Mediasite here. That's the university's Mediasite server, not engineering's. So I want to point that out. But then also Google Drive. So what that does is it's going to take me to my Google Drive area. I can go to a folder I might have for lecture videos. I'm going to select the first lecture, and I'm going to hit submit, and then I'm going to add that item. And so now I have a link to that lecture. So if I went from the welcome page here, and then the next page is that link, it's going to embed that video here. But notice the size, you don't have much control over that. So sometimes embedding it makes a cleaner look, but this is also an option. So we talked about adding pages, adding files, adding videos, adding links to files or pages. You can do that within the page. I'm going to go back now real quick to the home page. This is another area where you can add content on the home page. So if I hit edit, it actually gives me the opportunity to edit the home page. One thing you really want to do is, again, type your course title, make sure that all the Latin words are replaced or deleted. You have the syllabus here, and I'm going to click on that in a minute and show you that area. And you have some of these other things, and these are images that link to different areas in the course. So we already saw some of those. The academic resources were within that module that was published. The syllabus right now was within that module. There's a special one just for the College Station campus. And if I hover, I can see that's where it's pointing to. And then this online office hours, and that's something when you click on that page, when you're not in edit mode, you want to go and investigate that and change that text as well. The other part are these images, and right now there's nothing linked to it. So when you first open up your course, these go nowhere. So you're going to want to go in and create those links. So I can do that as I did before, where I can we link to the document, but I can also link to an external link or a course link. So here's where I would hit the course link, and then I could come in here and search for module 1, or it actually shows you modules, and then it gives you those modules. And so then I added it just like it showed the yellow box there to show that it added the link, and I'm going to hit save. And so module 1 should now go to my module 1 in the modules area. And again, like the online office hours, more text that needs to be replaced. And then the syllabus. One of the options you have is to use this syllabus page. And this is a page within the course that's part of the blueprint. And one thing you can notice here is it has all the sections you would normally have in your syllabus, and then it has all the university policies updated for you already. So that section's already there. What you could do is, if you already have your syllabus in a Word document, is you could come in here and you can hit edit. You may need to change the section names, but you could highlight this text and then replace it with what you have in your syllabus. And then when you're done, you can save it as a PDF as well. But Sandra's going to talk about some other options there. One of the questions on the chat just now is the syllabus button is an edit. Like I showed you to go in and actually edit the syllabus page, but you can, if you go back to the home page, there is a way that you could change the link to this. Right now it links to that page. You can decide to use the page, or you can have your own PDF already that's accessible, and you can link to that PDF in your files area. So if you upload it to your files area, then you can link it here, or you can upload it from your hard drive, just as we did in the other examples. So yes, you can insert a file there when you edit. Okay, Sandra, you ready?
Yes, if you can stay on this page for me. I did want to mention, if you use that web page for the syllabus, that and you use a document for it, you want to make sure that this page is updated every time you update that document to make sure that you're giving consistent information between the both of them. Some professors decide, I'm just going to create a document and that's going to be my syllabus and we won't use this page at all. And that is perfectly fine. That way you have only one page, one document to work on, and that's what you share with your students. And in the process of doing that, you make sure that that document is accessible so that all of your students can get to it and access all the information within it. If you go back to the home page, just real quick about that icon again. If that shows as green, your document's probably in pretty good shape and it may not have any issues to fix. If it's red, you probably have several or bigger issues to fix. And if it's yellow to orange, you're somewhere in between. There was that document earlier that Lainey showed that had a big red icon on it saying that it was not tagged. That's probably the worst error you can find within your PDF. And I'll show you how to fix that when we're saving our document to a PDF. So if you can stop sharing, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All righty. Can everyone see like a Word document here?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so part of it is you really don't want to get to Canvas and get that red icon to show that your document isn't accessible. Word can help you find and fix many accessibility issues before you even upload to Canvas. However, once your document is in Canvas, you still need to click that icon to see if Canvas found any additional issues that Word wasn't able to. So this process ensures every single one of your students can access all of the content within your syllabus and other documents and won't immediately experience barriers in understanding what your course will entail. So first, we're going to add the accessibility checker into Word's quick access toolbar. So you can find accessibility issues within your documents quickly and not have to search for it throughout these tabs. It is in the review tab since I'm looking at it right now, but I'm going to make it so it's easy for you to find at all times. Now we're going to add the accessibility checker icon into this quick access toolbar here in the top left corner. Right now, you may have some other icons. I've got like a save as and a way to insert symbols. But you might have like the save icon, an undo, a redo. And to modify this, you can hover over this arrow. Usually it says customize quick access toolbar. And we're going to go down to more commands and click that. And it opens this Word options window. Instead of looking at popular commands here, which is what's showing on the left side, we're going to click this to change it to all commands. And once that pops up again, it's going to be an alphabetical list of all of the commands that you can get Word to do. I'm looking for the accessibility checker. I'm going to click on that. And once that's highlighted and clicked, this add button becomes available. So we're going to click that. And this is the list of the icons that are going to show up in my quick access toolbar once I click OK. But right now, you can order this list by using these up and down arrows on the right side. I always put mine at the very top just because it's quicker to access. So this top to bottom here equates to left to right in your quick access toolbar. So I always have mine at the very left. So it's the first thing I do. So I do it regularly and check my document for accessibility. So you click OK to get this added, and you see this little circle to check accessibility. So when I click on that, it shows me this panel on the right of all the issues that may be in this document. So it shows errors first and then warnings second, because errors are more important to fix. And it's organized by these categories that have that little down arrow showing that it's open. You can click on these little categories to collapse them and expand them, depending on whether you want to just work on one thing at a time. And in this syllabus, Word found missing alternative text, missing heading levels, and repeated blank characters. And if you click on an actual issue, I'm going to click on picture 1. It will not only bring you to that section and select that content, it will also display in the additional information here on the bottom right why to fix this issue, and it will give you steps on how to fix this issue. So Word is actually trying to help you fix these issues as much as it can, and you can get additional information here on the bottom using that link. So since I've clicked on picture 1, we can fix this issue immediately. This picture, however, brings up the concept of a screen reader. So I want to define what that is really quick. A screen reader is software that will read accessible documents and web pages for people who are blind or have any type of visual disability. It could also be used by those with cognitive disabilities like dyslexia, where lines of text can sometimes merge together. So all visual content like images that are meant to convey meaning to your student should contain this alternative or alt text. So a screen reader can read out this description for those who cannot see the image. So screen readers cannot read anything from this image. So we have to provide text for them to be able to read when they get here with their screen reader. So Word here has picked up on the fact that this image doesn't have any alt text, and it wants me to fix that. So in order to fix this, you can right click on the image and go to Edit Alt Text. And it will bring up another panel on the right to fix alt text. So in this case, I can type in, and if you notice on the right, under missing alternative text, that whole section is going to disappear when I enter anything into that box. Also, if I mark this as a decorative image, it's also going to disappear. So either way, you're handling that error if you add text to it or if you deem this as a decorative image. And when I look at this, normally when I do headshots of, say, instructors, and I've got the name of the person right below it, I would put the name of the instructor as the alt text for this image. So in fact, since the text is already there on the page, it actually makes this a decorative image. So I would just mark this as decorative, and that would be finished. If this was something that needed to convey something additional, you would have actual text that you would need to enter here. And so next, we're going to look at the grading periods, the participations section. So this is supposedly a missed heading level. So I'm going to look at here, and I noticed, see up here in the styles, that this is a heading 4. So if I go up above, because it's the prior one that's telling me something is wrong when I get here. If I go here to this heading, it's a heading 2. So I'm actually missing a heading 3 level in between. And that's where the problem lies. So a major guideline for creating headings is to keep a well-formed hierarchy. This means that a single heading 1 should be at the beginning of your document. Heading 2s are major sections within your document, and heading 3s are subsections within the heading 2 sections, and so on. Screen reader users can press H on their keyboard to scan the document, jumping from heading to heading. But if a heading level is skipped by the author, like a heading 2 to a heading 4, the screen reader may not understand the hierarchy because it's technically broken. So it may not tell students that the heading 4 even exists. So we want to make sure that we keep our heading hierarchy intact. So I'm going to click on some of these repeated blank characters to show you what this sometimes means. So here I've just got some extra tabs or spaces that are after this. Those can just be deleted, but I want to click on this 5-character example to show you something. So shown here, it's also going to pick up extra characters where spaces have been used to create a table structure instead of using an actual table object. So sighted students can easily understand which content goes with which section here because they can see the layout. But students using a screen reader can't necessarily see that layout, so they'll miss crucial information and may have difficulty understanding the content. So currently this content is going to be read to them from left to right, or top to bottom, left to right. So schedule section 501, schedule section 502, lecture 1:35 to 2:25 p.m. Monday, lecture 2:55 to 3:45 p.m. on Monday. And I will continue on with the lab. So when it's read like this, how do blind students know which lecture day and time goes with which section? They don't, because they don't know how this is formatted. And there's no associations made for them between the data and what the data actually means. Like what lecture goes with which section. And this is all because it's not inside of an accessible table. So I've actually already created a table in this course schedule revised section. And I've actually modified the title, the heading that I would use in this area, because it doesn't make sense to have course schedule here and to also have course schedule here. We want to make sure our headings are unique so that students that can't see, oh, this is my lecture, lab, and meeting times, and this is my actual week-to-week schedule, they don't know what's in that section until they go into it. So we want to make sure every heading is unique so that it's actually describing what is in that section. So I thought that lecture and lab meeting times made more sense. And technically this should be a heading 3 to match with this, but I wanted to hide it in this section, so it's a heading 4. So right here is what I would fix the top area with, is this table. So in order to create a table, you want to use the insert table function here. You can create whatever size table you need, and just click or press enter when you get the right size table. And it can be modified later, and I'll show you that in a second. I just want to point out here that you do not want to use the draw table feature. It's not going to result with an accessible table. So I'm just going to click out of table since I've already created it. I think you can also copy and paste from Excel to create your table here. You just need to be able to set up the table correctly with their headers, and I'll talk about that in a second. So because of support limitations in Word, the first row is the only piece of the table that you can set as a header. I know some people use columns too, but unfortunately Word can't support that just yet. So when you set this as a header, screen readers will repeat the headers each time you tab into a data cell. So first off, once people are going through this, they're going to be using their keyboard if they're using a screen reader, and they're going to be read section, lecture day and time, lab day and time. But when they get to 501, because this is going to be set up correctly with that first row being headers, it is actually going to say section first and then 501. When it gets here, it's going to say lecture day and time, Monday 1:35 to 2:25, and so on. So you know that this data is associated with the section and each header that is for that column. So I'm going to show you real quick, actually, the correct way to make this a header row. If you select the whole top row and then right click on here, go to table properties. This is where we want to be to change this. So I'm in the row tab up here in the options section is where we're paying attention to. So I don't want to allow to break rows across pages. This is problematic for people with cognitive disabilities, and just you have to keep that in working memory. So you really don't want to force people to have rows that are breaking across pages. You also want to repeat as header row at the top of each page. And this is actually doing two different things. It's setting up the association for people using screen readers. So this will say section 501 instead of just 501. Plus, it is also doing what it says and just repeating that header on the top of each page. So if the table goes across two different pages, the header row is going to repeat on that second page. So this is what you want to be able to create that accessible table in Word. You also, if you have a difficult table set up, you can come here to the alt text tab and add a description, which either mentions something about the structure of the table, or you can give a summary of its contents. For sighted students, it may be easier to summarize or figure out what's going on in a table, but for people that are getting through it with a screen reader, it may be more difficult. So giving a summary of its contents might be very helpful to those students. So to save those, you just click OK on the table properties, and you should have a table that is accessible for all of your students. So using an accessible table instead of the spaced out layout fixes the situation where data isn't associated with the headers, and it won't just be read from left to right and top to bottom. So we're going to assume that we've fixed all of these issues in the accessibility checker, and I'm just going to close that. And we're going to save to an accessible PDF. So first, I'm going to go up to the very top of this document, and I'm going to copy this title, or this heading 1. I'm just doing a Control-C, so you can't see it. And then I'm going to go to File, and this info section is going to open up. So first off, we're going to fix that error of where we don't have a title. So we want to copy here, or paste. We want to paste our title here where it says title in the properties section of the info tab. And then we're going to start saving to a PDF. So I first want to point out that you do not want to use the print feature. It will not create an accessible document. And because I've got Acrobat installed on my machine, this Save as Adobe PDF plugin shows up. Unfortunately, it does not save over this title, so you actually don't want to use this plugin. What we're going to do is use the Save As, so you can change that type to a PDF. And here it's just asking where to save it. We've all done this before. So I'm just going to put it in my current folder. And then when we get here, it's obviously saving to a Word document because it is a Word document, but we're going to change this Save As type to a PDF. And it'll change some of the content that you see at the bottom here. I want to point out that that title that I saved to that area has been brought over. This is another opportunity, if you missed it there, to add it here. So you have that title within your document. Here we're going to keep everything as is. I want this standard publishing. I want this to be checked so we can see the file after publishing. It's always a good idea to show yourself the PDF that was actually created from the Word document to make sure things didn't shift around and everything. So what we're going to look at here is the options menu. It always opens up on my other monitor. So in the options menu, we're looking at the include non-printing information section here. We want all of these items checked. We want to create bookmarks with the headings. We want to save over the document properties. And most of all, we want to check this document structure tags for accessibility. The error that Lainey showed earlier with that one document that says it wasn't tagged, that's because this checkbox was not checked when it was saved over as a PDF, or it was printed to PDF, because I'm pretty sure this doesn't create the tagged PDF. The tagged PDF is what makes the PDF actually readable to any of your students using a screen reader. Otherwise, it's just inaccessible to them. So I've clicked OK. The options are good as is, and I'm going to click Save to actually convert the document to a PDF. And my beautiful syllabus is here as a PDF. And that's about it for my piece of the presentation. And I'm going to stop sharing now.
You can reach out to us through our email. It's this Engineering Learning Tech. Again, if you have any questions, you can email us and we'll help you one-on-one.